Hi everybody, welcome to class tonight. Tonight we are going to be talking about ocean magic, sea magic, and I am a sea witch. Shocking. I know. Lots of my magic is done through water, but I did not get raised around water, nor am I around water all the time. I am very blessed that I have lived in many places where there has been ocean. I have lived in Hawaii and now I live in North Carolina, so the beach has always been kind of close to me most of my adult life, which has worked out really well for me. But that doesn't mean that you can't be a sea witch if you are not around the ocean all the time. There are lots of things that you can draw from the ocean that you can have around you on your altar, in your life, that actually represent the ocean and the sea. Okay, let's get started. There's a whole bunch of tools I'm going to be talking about tonight. There's a whole bunch of different things I'm going to be talking about. But the first thing I want you to do is I want you to remember either the first time you went to the ocean or the first time you saw the ocean. The first time that I went to the ocean that I remember, because my mom took me when I was little, and ironically put my feet in the water, I was baby Christy, and told me I would never fear it, that I would never be afraid of the water, that I would never be afraid of what the ocean held for me. So that is actually really stuck with me to the point that I have done it for my children. And my daughters were born in Hawaii, so they had like ocean right from the beginning. I can't even tell you how little they were the first time I took them to show them the ocean. But anyways, I digress. Let's go back to the first time that I actually saw the ocean. I had seen it a little bit in California, but the first time that I stood full-fledged against the ocean was in Hawaii. I know, spoiled brat. I am ruined forever on the ocean because of this, but I stood on North Shore, and I stood where the waves just came in and crashed upon the beach, and listening to that sound just all in your ears, and feeling the sand underneath my feet, and getting the ocean spray in my face, and feeling the power that was there, feeling the energy that was there, and feeling like I had never felt before, like I was home, like it really made sense of, oh my gosh, like this is who I am. If I had a feeling of who I was, who I put my magic as, it is this. And it's not just the beach, because when you start doing ocean magic, you start engulfing all the layers of the ocean. You can have the beach, and you can have the waves as they crash on the beach, but you can also go out deeper, and you can go out into where you no longer can touch the bottom, where there are lots of sea animals all around you, and then you can go even deeper to places that humans haven't even been to yet. That undiscovered, uncharted, deep underworld type of energy exists in the ocean. So the ocean can be so many things. A bright sunny day. Yes, I wore appropriate clothes. I actually put on my bathing suit for this discussion tonight. But it's the bright sunny day with a cocktail in your hand, and you're sitting there watching your family laugh and have fun, to the person who gets on the surfboard and rides out into the waves. By the way, I'm not very good at surfing. I tried my hand at it and got tossed by a wave and went, oh, okay, I'm good, I'm done. But there's something peaceful about sitting on a board as the waves just gently rock you, and allowing them just to gently move you and gently bring you up and then ebb you back down. So if you're a surfer or a boogie boarder, which that's what my husband was, but whatever it is for you that gets you out there, a boat, if you've ever been on a boat in the ocean, you kind of think you're big sometimes until you realize I am really tiny in this big ocean. But it's that energy of everything and just watching everything. And different water have done different things for me. The Atlantic Ocean feels very different to me from the Pacific Ocean. When I went to the North Sea, it felt very different than any other ocean I had been, or sea that I had been to, big body of water. And you know, it's going back to your connection with the magic that's there. So tonight, let's talk about that. So first off, if you were to find yourself trying to attune yourself more to water, first thing I would tell you to do is study West energy, study water energy, really get a handle for what water is for. Water is for the emotion, water is for the compassion, water brings up love. So a lot of the tools that go with this coincide with those things. You have a lot of things that do healing work, a lot of things that do love work, a lot of things that do compassion work. And if you wanted to bring more of those things in your life, putting ocean or sea items on your altar is a great way to start. So what can you have that's going to bring things to you? If you walk along a beach, what are you going to see first? You're going to see sand. So I have ocean sand right here, and sand represents so many different things because there's so many things that make up the ocean sand, and depending on what beach you're on, depends on what the sand is like. I have to say the sand in North Carolina beaches is very fine, very silty, and then the sand that was in Hawaii was almost like you were stepping on little ground up little shells that had been tossed, and they were really itty bitty round circles, so there were circles all over the place. So the magic that I did with the sand in Hawaii was way different than the sand that I dealt with in North Carolina. And when I did energy work at the North Sea, that was way different because it was kind of really filled with what's the word I'm looking seaweed. That's the word I'm searching for. It was really filled with seaweed because the water had gone out, and so there was a lot of seaweed everywhere. There was a lot of muck, which some people would have thought, ew, gross, but no, you've got to think that's all the nutrients. That is, when you look across the bed where the ocean has gone out and you know it's going to come back in, and all you see is nothing but lush and green and very black dirt. That is nutritious, that is fertility, that is all that energy. So it was a lot of fertile earth that I was looking at, fertile sand on that beach. So each of them have their own purpose. I will go to really cool beaches one day. I want to go to the one with the black sand, and I want to go to the one with the pink sand. I want to go out to out to California when they're having the algae that shows up and luminous the ocean and it causes the neon lights at night. I want to see all that stuff. But let's go back to sand. So the sand is a great way for you to bring home a piece of the ocean. It is a great way for you to have a remembrance of what you were doing, where you were standing, what you were experiencing, because underneath the waves is always the sand, is always the dirt. And for that, you can also get rocks from the ocean. I have this one, and I have this one that represent different pieces of the ocean, different pieces of coral and rock that's underneath there that grows so much, that supports so much. So kind of thinking of it that way. I also have a piece of lava that I have from a beach. And this actually is a little bit different. Lava is a little bit different because you kind of think of it as being made from, this at first was fire. This at first was all that energy, all that, until it hit the water, until it hit the ocean. And then once it hit the ocean, it made this rock. And that's why it has all the holes in it, because it's able to absorb all that water, and it made it into this. So thinking of a lava rock as a great thing to help you to become a better person, to allow yourself to have the fire, to allow yourself to have that passion, but adding in the water to make it solidified, to make it real, to make it grounded. At least that's what I think of when I think of lava and how I carry lava with me. So, anyways, so going back to the sand. So always, you know, if you were to have sand sitting on your altar, you could just run it through your hands and just think of the tide bringing the sand in and out. Another thing that sand is great for is you can draw things in it. Oh yes, you get the ability to make sigils on sand. So if I was standing on a beach and I was doing a spell and I wanted the ocean to come and take that spell, you can write it out, you can draw sigils, you can write words, you can draw symbols, you can do whatever you want. And then have the tide come in. Have that energy, the force of the water come in, and have it almost engulfing and taking it with us and pushing that energy out into the world. It allows you to bring things into fruition. On the other hand, what it also does is it allows you to banish things. If there are things that you no longer want to carry with you, you can write those in the sand and almost think of the water as washing them away out of your life, taking them and just completely eliminating them, covering them up, no longer making them a problem for you. So it works both ways. You can either put energy out into the world for things that you want, or you can allow the ocean to take things away from you that you no longer want to carry because they become too heavy or they are not important to you anymore, and just let that energy go. Because energy is not ever destroyed, it's just created anew. And that's what you have to remember. So if you are spending time to write something, if you are taking the time to figure out what you want to put in the sand and taking the energy to actually draw it out, allow the ocean to take that energy and transform it into something new. Taking it to someone who needs it, taking it to someone who, has to transform it for something they want. So whatever, or just putting that energy back into the world to do something else with it. Okay, the other thing, shells. Walk on a beach, you're going to find shells. And in fact, most sand from the beach is all kinds of ground up shells. So you can find, wonderful shells everywhere, and beautiful shells that are different colors and have this almost pearl-like capacity to them, or very round, very cup-like shells that are great. Oyster shells that are wonderful. These are actually wonderful for holding salt and stuff like that on your thing, on your altar, not your thing. Or you can find yourself getting the spiral ones. These ones, I do caution you, if you do take these ones off the beach, make sure they don't have living animals in them, because a lot of times animals live inside these. These are their homes. So don't ever take a home from something. Yeah, you can find them without them, but 9 times out of 10, I'm always tossing them back. And I always have my family going, "What are you doing? That was a great shell." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have a thing in it. I can't take it home." So it's almost like, no, it's not made for me. The one that's supposed to come to me will not have that in it. So anyways, shells will come in different colors as well. You can get bright white ones, you can get black ones, or you can get ones that are the tan colored, or you can get really big ones like this one right here. This one actually was a clamshell, and this one actually stood on my grandmother's wall. My childhood, she had a beach reef in her bathroom for the longest time, and I remember staring at it as a child and thinking, wow, those shells are so cool. And she gave them to me, so I was real excited. But anyways, you can find these if you really look for these. Sometimes you have to go out a little deeper, or you can buy them at shops and stuff like that. But do be careful buying them at shops. Make sure that the creatures weren't just harvested for their homes and stuff like that. But if you just walk along the beach and you find a bunch of shells for yourself, there are different things you can do with the shells. Obviously, I talked about you can put salt in them and you can use them to scoop up things, but you can also do spell work with shells. Especially oyster shells are very much known for their love properties, because oysters are aphrodisiacs. So when you have an oyster shell, you are always thinking about what was there, what possibility do you have to bring new life, new love into your life. The more round ones, like this one, I actually found this one. These ones could be really good for things that you want to hold and cup and bring into your life, or they could hold stones for you, or salt or whatever. But they're also really good for just kind of like thinking of rays of a sun and bringing that sunshine back with you, like remembering a great sunny day at the beach, wonderful, especially when you're going into winter. If you put shells on your altar, you can sit back and think of a nice July day that you just had like the beating sun and the ocean spray on you, and it was just an awesome day for you. So that would be a great thing to use. And it's also for prosperity. Shells at one time were traded as money. They were a currency. So shell work is sometimes when you just want to bring more into your life, more fertility, more, if you're doing money spells with them, or if you're doing just gains with them, you can do all kinds of workings with shells in the way of currency. So also, if you are doing one of the spiral ones, one of the things that you can do with them is you can think inside the shell, it actually turns inside itself. It keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. Or you can look at the top of it where it spirals and spirals and spirals. And you kind of think of this as energy work. You're either spiraling in or you're spiraling out. And so when you're doing work with these, you can almost think of them as a labyrinth. And you're following it down and you're following it down and you're following it down deeper inside of you. So that's a great way to meditate with these type of stones, holding them in your hands and just thinking of the way that it turns and twists and gathers more energy as it goes along. So, you know, that's a great way to think of these. I actually found one that was broken off. It was just a little tiny spiral by itself. But I really like this one because it allowed me to see inside. Like I could see the path which I was trying to follow. I could see the energy starting to foil up on top of itself, and you know, just spiraling in when you're doing a lot of energy work with inner self stuff, you know, allowing yourself to fold onto layers of yourself is one of the things that you can do. So that's why I took this one and brought it home. But there are other things you can find on the beach. It's not just shells. You can find wood. This is a piece of driftwood. And this piece of driftwood actually came from the Pacific Ocean up in Oregon. And I took it with me one and called, I was like, wow. But it sits on my ocean altar when I make it. And it sits there just as a reminder of this was once a living tree that got swallowed up by the ocean and then turned into this very light. Driftwood is very light. It's taken away all of that was inside, and it's now replaced it where water was. And when the water recedes out and it's no longer in there, it's lighter. It's made it refreshed almost to me when I think about it. So I try to think of driftwood. Sometimes you can do carvings on them and different workings like that, or you can make wands out of them if you'd like to. It really depends on you, but driftwood, I put a piece of driftwood on my ocean altar because I want to remember that the water can transform me. Things that seem so heavy, things that seem so much to bear, that if I allow the compassion and if I allow the love in, it can transform me into something different, something lighter. And so that's why I keep driftwood on my altar. You can find different other reasons why you leave driftwood on your altar. So another one is seaweed, which I don't have any seaweed. I'm sorry. If I had it, I eat it because I love it. It makes me feel good. It's the thyroid thing. Anyways, seaweed is really good, and you think of it as fertility and you think of it as health. A lot of people eat seaweed in this world. It has high iodine. Most of our sushi is wrapped in it. It's great, but you have that energy, that simple, gooey, mushy plant that just holds so much energy and can provide so much for the world's energy in the oceans and for us, and just this wonderful plant that seems just so simple that actually just gives us so much back. So having that seaweed, having a piece of it on your altar, or working with it, or if you wanted to do a magical meal with seaweed while you're doing your ocean magic and stuff like that, that's a great way to work together and bringing that energy together. So Anyway, seaweed. Other than seaweed, the other thing that you might actually find on the ocean is what? Ocean water. Yes. I always use whatever we drink, whatever we bring. At the end of the day, I'm always going down to the water, and my family knows it. They're like, Mom's getting her ocean water, because I use it all the time. It's most of my spell work water, and that's because it's already has salt in it. What? Because it comes from the ocean. So anyways, it's already got sea salt, which is a lot of times what we put in our water when we're blessing and consecrating stuff anyways. So this is great for like if you're doing house cleansings or you're cleaning any of your magical tools or anything like that. Do remember it has salt in it, so if you're putting it on metal, you want to wipe it down really well so that you don't get the spots that it corrodes into the metal and stuff like that. But seawater is a great way. If you have it, you can add it to your bath to bring that energy of the ocean to you, the sea to you, and just sit back and remember where that water was. Was that water deep in the ocean? Was that water surrounded by sharks or whales or giant squids or the anglerfish with its crazy little tentacle, little eye thing? Or was it in a shell that got pushed out? Was it in a coral reef where it was beautiful and all the great colors? You know, you don't know where that water was. You don't know where it's traveled. You don't know what mysteries it's touched. So having that almost like unlocking mysteries for you, it's like, I want to have that adventure that water had. I want to have that energy that water had, traveling through the entire world, touching everything. Was it ice at one time and sitting there waiting to just be dissolved once again? Did it touch the feet of something thousands and millions of years ago? There's so much that it holds inside of it, and just that energy that's there with the ocean water, you know, and bringing that back to your home and having that. And that's one of the things you can do if you don't live near the ocean. Bring the ocean water back with you, you know, put it in a jar and keep it, and have that little bit of energy be with you. And so you can just touch it on your fingers and feel it and remember the energy that you felt, because that water is everywhere, and you just can remember what it sounds like when the waves crash upon the shore, and you can just feel the ocean spray as it hits you in the face. If you've never been on a boat and stood at the helm of that boat and allowed the water just to splash you in the face, you know, it's such a great feeling. It's such a, you know, tasting the salt on your lips and just having that experience. It's, for me, it's awesome. But again, sea witch. So, but if you are really into that, you owe it to yourself to feel that energy. You owe it to yourself to feel that freedom. So speaking of that, floating in the ocean, you just feel so relaxed. You allow the waves to just gently rock you, gently take you, and things like that. Or if you are into surfing or you are into bodyboarding or any of those things, allowing that wave to carry you, to experience that moment of just engulfing you and carrying you, and it's just such a great feeling. So it's adventurous and it's probably why I don't like it. It's way too a little bit out of my adventure league type of thing. But the people who do it, like I've had friends who you know, one of my really good friends quit his army career just so he could go be a professional surfer. He said there was nothing better than riding the waves. There was nothing pure, nothing more simple in this life than having that moment, that it was so crystal clear what he needed to do and how he needed to do it. So it was awesome for him. So, and I kind of understand it in some levels, because the first time you do catch a wave, you're like, oh my gosh. It's the other 50 times that you don't catch the wave that you're like, why am I doing this? I'm beating myself up. So, but the wave that you do catch, the experience that you do have where you feel it moving you, you feel it pulling you through to where you need to be somewhere else. So ocean water does that too. I want you to think about the way that it transports things. So if there's something that has become stagnated in you and something that you need to have pushed through and you need to have it transformed and moved through, put that in the ocean water. Think of that as moving through. It's like putting yourself in that and allowing it to just carry you and take you with you. So ocean water can work in so many ways. You have sea salt as another one. A lot of times we use sea salt in a lot of our magical things. And I do suggest, if you have enough ocean water, make your own sea salt. It's so simple. You need water, a place to put it, and sun to evaporate the water away, because what's going to be left is the sea salt. And then you can scrape that up and you can use that for whatever you need to use it for. But having that energy, and if you can't do that, that's fine. Go buy it. It's at every grocery store that you can find across everywhere, sea salt. And just, use it. You use it in your bath. You can use it in your spell work. You can use it for consecrating your water. When you're doing house cleansings, you put it in the water to bless and spritz and things like that. You can wash walls with it. You can wash doors. So you're doing the protection spells with it. Heavy protection spells are done with sea salt. They bring that energy in. Okay, what else should you have on your altar? So I don't have a seagull feather. Feathers are another one, and feathers are messengers. And you kind of think of feathers, it's a combination of air energy, and then when you add it being a seabird, you have water energy. So I actually have a pelican feather is what this one is, and I found this on a walk. I went to the beach the day before Beltane, and I walked on the beach because you couldn't stop. You actually could just walk during this time period. And I found this feather, and it was just laying there in the middle of the water, and it was all beat up and full of sand and kind of dirty, but I was like, oh, thank you, goddess. Thank you for this gift. And so I picked it up and I brought it home, and it's been sitting on my altar since. And I have been thinking how I'm going to use it. Now, you could use it as a pen if you wanted to. This is a quill, obviously. You can dip it in ink and write with it if that's what you choose to do. You can use it with your censer, and you could fan herbs, or you can fan your incense or things like that. It's completely up to you. But I also just think when I'm holding this and I'm working the energies, that I am bringing those things into me. I am picturing a pelican gliding across the water. I am picturing them scooping up what they need out of the ocean. I am picturing them diving without fear into that deep, dark water and just picking up whatever I need. And so whatever feather that you find, you can find lots of seagull feathers or pelican feathers or any other water birds that are along the way. Just use that energy. Just think about what they do and how they do it, why they do it, and how you can bring that into your life at the time. Sorry. Anyways, other thing you can do is you can decorate your altar in very different ways. You can have a blue-green candle, or on my altar, which I did not bring her out because she's actually staying up there and she's doing workings, is I have an undine. What's an undine? The undines are the mermaids, they are the sirens, they are the creatures that are the fae of the water. So having her on my altar, I have her helping me deal with some things that I'm working through, some journeying that I've been doing, and I almost think of her more as a siren than I do a mermaid, because she is singing and calling out for those things that I need to find in myself. She is singing and pulling those things from me that I need to bring to the surface. And that's what undines do, is they call things that need to come to the surface of the water, and then they pull them down. No, if they're bad or deserving, whatever, or not, and that's just what they do. But you also have to think of them as, sometimes they give wishes and sometimes they grant you things, but it's more the lesson, which I'm finding, it's more that siren call that she is saying, what am I bringing up out of you that you need to deal with, that you need to challenge yourself with, that is eating you from the inside, that you need to work with in this life period? And so I actually chose siren working for a lot of that energy work. And so the Undying is sitting on my altar where I deal with her in that way. Another thing is I have lots of shell. This holds water when I'm doing water workings. I have another one that holds dirt or salt or things like that. I have plates and glasses that are actually attributed with the ocean theme, but you can also find ocean glass. What is ocean glass? Ocean glass is a piece of glass that was taken and tumbled by the ocean, and it usually makes it more opaque. Like that piece of glass could have been pure green crystal, like see through it perfectly, or blue or whatever, but by the time it got tossed by the waves and in the sand and by the shells and everything, it's tiny little scratches, tiny beautiful, making it this opaque. So it's things that are hidden, things that are kept opaque, things that you now need to seek and find. And so I use ocean glass for that, which I actually don't have a piece right now. I did have a piece, but I used it for something, so you know, that's how that rolls sometimes. But I'll get more. It comes to me when I need it, and you can buy ocean glass in a lot of places, and that is you know, just one of those things, one of those extra tools that you can use. Another thing that you can use is, where'd they go? Here they are. Shark teeth. So these are actually petrified shark teeth that we went and dug up out of the sand. Me and my family did, and it was a really cool experience. But now I have shark teeth that I get to work with on my altar. And like I've said in the past, shark is a shadow animal for me, so this was a big step, going and finding actual shark teeth. I was like, oh, I know where these are connected to. And even though these ones are little, there's actually, where'd my big one go? Here it is. This one's not little. That's a really big shark tooth. Anyways, but thinking about the shark tooth and thinking about the things that I don't have to fear. If I was a shark and I had all these teeth, I don't fear anything. I just chomp and take what I want, and I make my way through the ocean with no fear. I just go and chisel out what I want. I go and I find what I want, and then I take it. I take the big bite out of it. I take the big chunk, and then I decide whether or not I don't want this, or I love this. I'm gonna take more chunks out of it. It's taking the bites out of things, taking that energetic bite out of whatever it is you're searching for. And so the shark teeth workings that I've been doing has actually been just me not being afraid of what's out there and taking big bites out of it and enjoying it, and just like allowing that that growth to happen with it, because food is sustenance and it makes you grow and be bigger and stronger. And so my shark tooth energy, where I'm going and finding things and eating them, those are things that are bringing sustenance to my soul, and things that are bringing sustenance to what I need to make more of in my life. So just a couple ideas. So anyways, these are just a couple ideas of how you can use the energy from the ocean. But I don't want you just to think of the ocean on sunny days. I want you to think of storms. I want you to think of hurricanes. I want you to think of big, huge whirlwinds that are just sucking things down. Energy that is very, very destructive, but very, very necessary anyways. A lot of things that happen in our lives, you don't always need to hold on to. You don't always need to keep them and, oh, I have to bear this. You don't. Why not make a storm, make a hurricane come in and rip it apart, destroy it, getting it out of the way, completely taking it out from where it doesn't belong anymore, letting it crumble into the ocean and letting the waves just destroy it and take it and keep it, smashing it to pieces so it no longer has to be carried by you. It no longer has to be with you. So That's how else you can use ocean energy. And if you've never stood at the ocean during a storm and seeing the lightning play across the water and seeing the clouds just quickly go across the ocean, you know, it's a sight. And the energy and realizing how tiny you really are standing on that beach as all that happens. Or if you've never seen a wave that is 20 feet plus high, knowing, oh, if that hits me, nah, okay, I'm gonna get tossed and I'm gonna get turned upside down, and just, you know, recognizing the energy that's there and recognizing the power that's there. But don't forget, the ocean is always a mother. She's always a provider. No matter what she destroys or what she takes, she eventually will bring back life. There is so much life teeming in the oceans, teeming in our seas, that just, we might not even recognize from the surface just how alive it is underneath there. So realizing the fertility that goes with it, realizing the things that can grow from it, that's the true power of the ocean. What life lies there. We have lots of deities that have come out of the ocean. They were born of the ocean. They just, everything, and walked out into the ocean. Venus is one of them. She was born of sea foam. And sea foam is very interesting. If you've never seen it, it makes bubbles and blows across the sand. It's very interesting to play with, and so I like to pick up the sea foam in my hands and let it dissolve away and almost like blow away. And that's another spell that you can use. You can have the sea foam whisper the things that you want to let go and then blow them away from your hands, and it dissipates and it goes away, and you know, it just disintegrates in front of you. Anyways, I know I'm forgetting something about sea magic. Oh, other thing that you want to do is just meditate. If you want to do meditations, listening to the ocean waves as they go, it's so relaxing and it's so nice to listen to. And you can do that, you know, find a YouTube, find a video, find something that has that sound for you, and have that energy just play out for you, rolling across the waves, listening to it come in and out. So speaking of that, you have high tide, you have low tide, and you have ebb, and you have flow. So flow is when the water is coming in. This is when you're gaining things. This is when you have energy getting more. When you have high tide, that's when you do energy working at its most. It's almost like full moon. With high tide, that's when you actually put forth whatever you're doing. Ebb is when things go out, and this is things that you carry away from you, the water carrying things away that you no longer have to serve for you. And then low tide is when you do more meditation, you do more quiet time, you do more of planning and those type of things. So you can go to the ocean during these different times and sit there and use the ocean like you would the full moon. The tides move for the moon, so tying that moon energy into tidal energy is one of the things that you can do for yourself. I also suggest doing a full moon at the ocean if you've never done this before. It is such an amazing thing. The energy that you can feel from the, well, that I can feel, and you know, a lot of energy work, especially anything for fertility, anything for healing, anything for compassion, anything for love, doing ocean magic for that, doing your full moons at the ocean. By the way, full moon, hands down, with no lights behind you and nothing but the ocean and the moon bouncing off the waves. Amazing, amazing. And the ocean is just all kinds of awake at night. You know, the sharks are eating and everybody's out there doing their thing. You know, they don't have like the rules, you got to go to bed at night and stuff like that. It's just an amazing thing. So definitely in your life, go and do that. Another thing you can do is make a fire at the ocean. Make sure it's at a beach that you can do it on. It's legal, but it's such a relaxing thing and it's such a fun thing to do, especially with people who you really care about, family or friends or things like that. It's just such a really cool experience to sit around and have that moment. You know, these are memories that should be made and things that should be celebrated in our life. So also go in the winter time. A lot of people don't go in the winter time, but in the winter is when the ocean is more active. The waves are bigger, they're more stronger, and they're obviously not hurricane season, but you know, the waves are just huge during the ocean time periods and stuff like that. They're just awesome and amazing because the colder water is coming in and it's mixing with the warm water, and that's how you get weird things happening in the ocean. But it's just such a different experience, a nice experience to have. So anyways, I hope this has been helpful, and I actually have a book on ocean magic and stuff like that. I'll share it with the group so you guys can see it later. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, and good luck on your ocean magic. Good luck with becoming a sea witch if that's what you want to be, because I love it. I think it's an awesome, if it's me, it's very much me. But good luck to you, and I'll see you guys later.